While I brought up a little of the research we funded, I know you are really well versed in sort of the myriad of ways this has occurred throughout history. How has your understanding of policies needed to alleviate structural racism been informed by economics research?
Well, thank you for that very important question. I think part of the challenge when you take a long-term view of the journey of African Americans in this country, and it's a great country, we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. And unfortunately, systemic racism has been in the soil of America for over 400 years, is that whenever there was an opportunity for there to be a transformational breakthrough moment, we always fell short. And so, for instance, after the initial emancipation of African Americans and the Reconstruction Amendments, the 13th Amendment prohibiting slavery pursuant to the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law, the 15th Amendment guaranteeing theoretically the right to vote for African Americans. During that Reconstruction era, there was great hope, there was great promise, there was great opportunity. The establishment of the Freedmen's Bank, for instance, which was designed to provide resources and assistance in the newly freed slaves and being able to establish themselves in terms of businesses, labor participation, and home ownership. It all fell apart. And it was replaced by Jim Crow segregation, the rise of the Black codes, and an intentional effort to suppress the ability of African Americans to have the same level of opportunity as others throughout America. And that Jim Crow segregation lasted for almost 100 years. We had the Great Depression, of course, as you suggested, Kate, and some of the policy responses to that around the New Deal era, but African Americans were largely excluded from the programs that were developed throughout the New Deal, whether that's wage protections or whether that was through Social Security, excluding industries such as domestic workers and farm workers, where at the time African Americans were disproportionately overrepresented. We came back from the Great World War II, of course, and the United States, in its generosity, passed the GI Bill, creating opportunities, particularly for home ownership, for those members of the greatest generation who came home after liberating the world from Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany. And hundreds of thousands of African American World War II veterans were denied access, for instance, to the type of low interest loans and home ownership opportunities and employment opportunities that were provided to the veterans that they served with who were not African American. And then the Civil Rights era, of course, finally, and the Great Society was a substantial step forward in trying to even the playing field. But after several years, it was short-circuited by the election of Richard Nixon and then the rise of mass incarceration, which started in 1971, 50 years ago from where we are right now. At the time, there were less than 300,000 people incarcerated in America. Today, 2.3 million, disproportionately Black and Latino. More people incarcerated in America per capita than any other country in the world. Lives, families, communities have been ruined. So that entire journey of African Americans in this country has consistently involved missed opportunities and intentional efforts to deny the African American community the ability to participate on a level playing field.